Okay, so this is a chazara of Kinyan Masechta, Masechet Moed Katan, starting from the very beginning, Daf Bet Amud Alef. Says the Mishnah, Mashkin Bet Hashlachin BeMoed, you're allowed to feed your field on Chol HaMoed if it is a Bet Hashlachin. So a Bet Hashlachin is a field that is thirsty for water, which means I have produce there. If I don't feed it, the produce will die. So there's a heter to do malacha on Chol HaMoed, because if I don't do the malacha, my produce will die, my vegetables will die, I will incur a loss. So this is the heter of doing malacha for davar ha'aved. That's what the Masechta starts off with. So again, mashkin beit hashlachin b'moed, you're allowed to feed water to a beit hashlachin, a thirsty field on chol hamoed, uvash shevi'it, and on Shemitah year as well. Bein mima'ayan sheyatza b'techila, bein mima'ayan shelo yatza b'techila. You're allowed to use a ma'ayan sheyatza b'techila, a newly formed spring, and you're also allowed to use a ma'ayan shelo yatza b'techila, a spring that has been there for a while. What's the chidush? So the Gemara is going to explain the chidush. Even though a new spring has not yet set its ways, and it's very possible that the walls will collapse, the water hasn't made its own path yet fully, and the walls will collapse, it will require upkeep and fixing. Nevertheless, you're allowed to use it to feed your Beit HaShlachin. Aval, but there are certain things that you're not allowed to do, even if you will incur a loss. Ein mashkin, you're not allowed to feed that field. Lo mimei gishamim, you cannot use rainwater. Rainwater means rainwater that came together in an area, in a pond, in a corner of the field, a little reservoir, or something like that. You're not allowed to use that. Velo mimei hakilon, or not from well water. The point is that when you have a flowing source of water like a spring, you're allowed to divert that water into your field and use it to feed your field, because that's not so much tircha, it's not so much effort that a person has to put in to do that. Whereas when you have to draw from an area that has stagnant water that is not flowing, so that's a tircha to have to draw that water. So you're not allowed to do malacha on Chol HaMoed, even to prevent a loss, if it is an extra tircha. Ve'en osin ugiyot lagefanim. You're not allowed to make ugiyot, like ditches, around your gefanim, around your vineyard. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer, again, the reason is because it's an extra tircha. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, Ein osin et ha'ama b'techila b'moed uv'shavit. You're not allowed to make or dig an amma, canal, to begin with, an amma that you're digging from scratch. You're not allowed to do that on Chol HaMoed or on Shemitah. But Chachamim argue, and they say, Osin et ha'ama b'techila b'shavi'it. You're allowed to make a canal, an amma, on Shavi'it, on the Shemitah year, because you're not really doing anything to help the field grow. You're just digging. You're basically providing plumbing for your field. You're doing a plumbing job. That's allowed. U'mitakinin et ha'mekulkalot b'moed. And you're allowed to fix ones that were broken on Moed, on Chol HaMoed. So if you have a field with an amma and it kind of got messed up, some dirt fell in it, you need to redig it a little bit, that would be allowed because it's not a big tircha. Umitakini, now the Mishnah moves on to a different heter. The heter in the rest of the Mishnah is not talking about a loss of money. It's not a heter malacha because to prevent you from a loss of money. Rather, it's talking about heter of malacha letzorech rabim, for the tzorech of the community at large. So mitaknin et kilkulei hamayim. You're allowed to fix the kilkulei hamayim shebirshut harabim, the water cisterns, the areas where water is gathered. Rashi says drinking water. So you're allowed to fix those in the reshut harabim. V'chotitinotan, you're allowed to clean them out. Umitaknin et haderachim, and you're allowed to fix the pathways, vet rechovot, the streets, vet mikvot hamayim, the mikvot hamayim, the areas where water is gathered together, the mikvez. Ve'osin kol tzorchei harabim, you're allowed to do anything that is considered tzorchei harabim, that is necessity for the rabim, for the public. Umitzayenin et hakevarot, And you're also allowed to be mitzayen, to mark the kvarot, the graves. The idea is that kohanim or other people who are shomer themselves not to become tameh should know that there's a grave there. You're allowed to do that on Chol HaMoed because that's for the Rabim to know. V'yotziin afala kilaim, and also Beit Din is allowed to send out messengers for kilaim. If people have in their field a mixture of kilaim growing, Beit Din sends out messengers to tell them that they need to uproot it, and you're allowed to send that out on Chol HaMoed.